I'm 86 years old, and last week I yelled at a teenage cashier for moving too slowly. Then I went home and cried because I realized I'm becoming exactly the type of old person I used to hate. There are 12 things aging does to you that you'll never admit out loud. Things that creep up so slowly you don't even notice until you've pushed away everyone you love. I'm Beatrice, and I've spent the last 17 years watching these changes destroy friendships, damage families, and turn vibrant people into bitter shells. But here's what nobody tells you. You can stop it. You can catch yourself before it's too late. My name is Beatrice. Some of you know my story. I wasted 47 years in a loveless marriage, trapped by fear and the need for security. My husband Howard died in 2007, and at 69 years old, I finally started living. These last 17 years have taught me more about being human than the previous 69 combined. And one of the hardest lessons has been watching myself and my friends turn into people we never thought we'd become. The first thing aging makes you do is become unreasonably impatient with everyone around you, and I mean everyone. The slow driver, the confused waiter, the grandkid who doesn't text back fast enough. You snap. You sigh loudly. You make comments under your breath that people absolutely hear. I never thought this would happen to me. I was a librarian for 40 years. Patience was my job. But somewhere around 75, I noticed myself getting irritated by the smallest things. A woman in the grocery store took too long counting her change, 5 seconds too long. And I rolled my eyes so hard I'm surprised they didn't get stuck. The scary part? I felt justified. She was being slow. She was wasting my time. But here's the truth I had to face. Time moves differently when you're aware you don't have much left. Every minute feels precious, so every delay feels like theft. But that's not the teenager at the register's fault. That's not the confused elderly woman's fault. That's your fear talking. My friend Margaret is 81. Last year, her grandson stopped visiting. When I asked why, she said he's just busy with his life. You know how young people are. But I knew her grandson, sweet kid, always made time for family. So I asked him directly. He told me that every visit turned into her criticizing how long he took to park, how slow he walked, how he wasn't moving fast enough when helping her with groceries. He said it felt like nothing he did was good enough. Margaret lost time with her grandson not because he was too busy, but because she made every moment with her feel like a test he was failing. And the worst part? She still doesn't see it. She still thinks he's just too busy. The second thing is you start dismissing everyone else's problems as trivial compared to yours. Someone mentions they're tired. You jump in with wait until you're my age. Then you'll know what tired means. Someone has a backache. You launch into a detailed description of your arthritis, your bad hip, your chronic pain. It's called Pain Olympics, and it kills conversation dead. I caught myself doing this with my daughter, Catherine. She called me after a long day at work, stressed about a project deadline. And before she finished her sentence, I said, try having 3 kids and a full-time job like I did. That's real stress. The line went quiet. Then she said, never mind, Mom. I should let you go. And she did. And she didn't call back for 2 weeks. Here's what I learned too late in that moment. Her pain was real to her. Her stress was valid. By dismissing it, by making it a competition, I told her that her feelings didn't matter, that only my suffering counted. And why would she want to share her life with someone who makes her feel small? Pain isn't a competition. Suffering isn't a ranking system. Someone else's broken leg doesn't make your sprained ankle hurt less. And someone being younger doesn't make their problems less real. The third thing aging does is make you repeat the same stories over and over without realizing it. And I don't just mean occasionally. I mean the same story, told the same way, to the same people, multiple times in the same conversation. Last Thanksgiving, my son Richard pulled me aside and gently said, "Mom, you've told us about your trip to Paris 3 times today. Same story, same details, same punchline." And I was furious. "No, I haven't," I said. But later, when I really thought about it, I realized he was right. The problem isn't memory loss, though that's part of it. The problem is that when you're older, your life is mostly behind you. The exciting things, the adventures, the stories worth telling, they already happened. So you tell them again and again, because what else do you have to share? But here's what that does to the people around you. It makes them tune out. It makes them stop listening, because they've heard this before, 5 times, 10 times. And eventually, they stop asking about your day, stop calling as much, because they know exactly what you're going to say. My friend Dorothy broke this pattern in a beautiful way. Instead of retelling old stories, she started making new ones. At 83, she took a pottery class, started volunteering at an animal shelter, went to a concert with her teenage great-nephew, and suddenly she had new things to talk about, fresh experiences, and her family started calling more because they were genuinely curious about what she was up to. The fourth thing is, you become rigid about routines to an absurd degree. Coffee at exactly 7 a.m., not 7:05. Dinner at 5:30, not 6. The same TV shows at the same times, the same seat at church, the same spot in the parking lot. And if anything disrupts these routines, you become genuinely upset. I watched this happen to my neighbor Harold before he died. His daughter visited from out of state and wanted to take him to a nice restaurant for dinner. But it was 6:30 and he ate at 5:30. He refused to go, said it was too late, would mess up his whole evening. She left the next morning, and he never saw her again. He died 8 months later, over dinner, over an hour-and-a-half time difference. He chose routine over his daughter. Routines feel safe when everything else is changing. Your body's changing, your friends are dying. The world doesn't make sense anymore. So you cling to the things you can control, the schedule, the sameness. But that rigidity pushes people away. It makes you seem inflexible, difficult, impossible to accommodate. The fifth thing is, you stop listening and just wait for your turn to talk. Real listening. The kind where you actually hear what someone is saying and respond to it. That goes away, replaced by this thing where you're just holding your breath until they stop so you can say what you plan to say. I destroyed conversations for years doing this. My grandson would start telling me about his college classes, and I'd interrupt with "when I was your age" before he even finished his sentence. I wasn't listening. I was just waiting to share my wisdom, my experience, my story. One Christmas, he stopped mid-sentence and said, "You know what? Never mind." And he didn't talk to me the rest of the day. And I couldn't understand why he was being so sensitive. But the truth is, I'd done that to him dozens of times, hundreds maybe, and he finally gave up trying to connect with me. The sixth thing is, you become suspicious of new things for no reason other than they're new. New technology is bad. New music is bad. New ways of doing things are bad. Everything was better before, in your time, the way you did it. I refused to learn how to text for 5 years. 5 years. My family was communicating in a group chat, sharing photos of the grandkids, making plans, having conversations, and I wasn't part of it because I was too stubborn to spend 20 minutes learning something new. And I told myself, I don't need that. If they want to talk to me, they can call. But here's the reality. They did need that. That's how they communicated, and by refusing to meet them where they were, I isolated myself. I chose pride over connection. When I finally learned to text, I saw what I'd been missing. Daily updates, inside jokes, photos of my great-grandkids taking their first steps. 5 years of memories I'll never get back because I was too stubborn to adapt. The seventh thing, and this one is ugly, is you start treating service workers like they're beneath you. Waiters, cashiers, delivery people. You're short with them, demanding, rude. You complain about everything. Nothing is good enough. Nothing is fast enough. I watched my friend Eleanor do this at a restaurant. She snapped her fingers at the waiter, snapped her fingers like he was a dog. I was so embarrassed I wanted to disappear. When I asked her about it later, she said, "What? I'm paying for service. I deserve good service." But here's what's really happening. When you feel invisible in the world, when society treats you like you don't matter anymore because you're old, you sometimes overcompensate by asserting dominance over the few people who have to be nice to you. It's not about the service. It's about feeling powerful in a world where you feel powerless. But that waiter, that cashier, they're someone's kid, someone's parent. They're working hard, probably for not enough money. And your rudeness doesn't make you powerful. It makes you cruel. The eighth thing is you stop taking care of your appearance and then wonder why people treat you differently. I don't mean you have to wear makeup or dress fancy. I mean basic things. Showering regularly, wearing clean clothes, brushing your hair, taking care of yourself. After Howard died, I let myself go for about 6 months. I'd wear the same sweatpants for days. Wouldn't bother with my hair. Barely showered. And I noticed people treating me differently. Cashiers wouldn't make eye contact. People on the street looked away. Even my kids seemed uncomfortable when they visited. I told myself it was because I was old. People don't see old women. But the truth was uglier. I'd stopped seeing myself. So why would anyone else see me? The day I decided to change was the day I caught my reflection in a store window and didn't recognize myself. I looked defeated, forgotten. And in that moment, I realized I'd been treating myself like I didn't matter, like I was already gone. So I started small, showered every day, put on real clothes, not pajamas, did my hair, and something amazing happened. People smiled at me again, made eye contact. My daughter hugged me longer because I'd started showing up again. I'd started treating myself like someone worth caring for. The ninth thing is you hoard things you don't need because everything feels precious. Old newspapers you'll never read. Clothes you haven't worn in 20 years. Broken appliances you'll never fix. You can't let go of anything because letting go feels like losing something. My house after Howard died was a museum to a life I didn't even want. His tools in the garage, his clothes in the closet. Decades of accumulated stuff that meant nothing to me, but felt impossible to release. I realized I wasn't holding on to things. I was being held by them. That clutter wasn't keeping memories safe. It was keeping me trapped. When I finally started clearing things out, donating clothes, recycling old papers, giving away things I didn't use, something lifted. The physical space I created became emotional space too. Room to breathe, room to move forward. The 10th thing is, you become a health expert based on nothing but your own experience. Your friend mentions their knee hurts. You immediately diagnose them and prescribe exactly what worked for you. Never mind that bodies are different. Never mind that you're not a doctor. You know because you've lived it. My friend Ruth does this constantly. She tells everyone about her miracle cure for arthritis, some supplement she bought online. Insists everyone try it. Gets offended when they don't. Last month, she told another friend to stop taking her blood pressure medication because herbs worked better. That friend ended up in the hospital. Here's the thing. Your experience is valid for you. But it's dangerous to assume what worked for you will work for everyone else, especially with health. You're not helping. You're potentially hurting people who trust you. The 11th thing is you stop making new friends because it feels pointless. You tell yourself, I have enough friends, or making friends is for young people. But the truth is, you're afraid. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of seeming desperate. Afraid they won't like you. I fell into this trap hard. After Howard died, I had my small group of friends from church. Margaret, Dorothy, Ruth, and I convinced myself that was enough. But then Margaret moved to assisted living. Dorothy's health declined. Ruth and I had a falling out, and suddenly, at 82 years old, I was alone. Because I hadn't made the effort to build new connections. I'd assumed the ones I had would last forever. I joined a book club 2 years ago, terrified, convinced these younger women, most in their 60s and 70s, wouldn't want an 84-year-old around. But I forced myself to show up. And you know what? They welcomed me. We've become real friends. And that friendship has given me something to look forward to every month. The 12th thing aging makes you do is give up on joy. You stop seeking out things that make you happy because you tell yourself you're too old for that. Too old to dance. Too old to travel. Too old to try new things. Too old to fall in love. Too old to laugh until you cry. This is the most dangerous one, because once you give up on joy, you're just waiting to die. I gave up on joy for 47 years in my marriage to Howard. Then he died, and at 69, I had to learn how to find it again. I had to give myself permission to want things, to try things, to feel things. Last year, I went ziplining with my daughter, Catherine. I'm 85 years old, strapped into a harness, about to fly through the air. And I was terrified. But when I pushed off that platform, when I felt the wind and the speed and the absolute aliveness of that moment, I laughed, really laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from your soul. That's what joy feels like. And you're never too old for it. Never. Here's what I want you to understand. These 12 things, they don't happen overnight. They creep in so slowly you don't notice. One snapped comment here, one repeated story there, one routine you refuse to break, and before you know it, you've become someone you don't recognize, someone your family avoids, someone who's lonely but can't figure out why, but you can stop it, right now, today. You can catch yourself before you snap at the cashier. You can listen, really listen to your grandkid's story. You can try something new. You can care about your appearance. You can let go of the clutter. You can make new friends. You can choose joy. I'm 86 years old. I've made all these mistakes. I've pushed people away. I've been the difficult old woman. But I've also changed. And if I can do it at 86, you can do it at whatever age you are. Because here's the truth. Aging doesn't make you do these things. Fear does. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not mattering anymore. And when you let fear drive, you become exactly what you're afraid of. Invisible, forgettable, alone. But when you choose differently, when you choose patience and curiosity and connection and joy, you become unforgettable. You become the kind of person people want to be around, the kind of grandparent kids actually want to visit, the kind of friend people treasure. Don't wait until you've pushed everyone away to realize what you've been doing. Pay attention now. Catch yourself. Choose better, because the years you have left, however many that is, they're too precious to waste being bitter, rigid, and alone. Subscribe if this opened your eyes.